Hey everybody, Jason here. Wanted to talk to you today about the latest offering from actor, humorist, agrarian, and do-it-yourself woodworker Nick Offerman. It's called Where the Deer and the Antelope Play. The book is split into three parts. In the first part, he covers a hiking trip in Glacier National Park with two of his friends, one who happens to be a lead singer of the band Wilco. Talks about their adventures, their hikes, gives some background on the National Park Service and set aside public lands. Talks about his love of Aldo Leopold and his respect for President Theodore Roosevelt and Gifford Pinchot and how they started recognizing that the land was necessary to preserve. He also goes into the dark side of that, admitting his white privilege and talking about how the Blackfeet tribe used to inhabit that land, thrived on that land, talks about their culture and some of the things they did to keep the land moving until they were unceremoniously removed from the land and sent elsewhere. Really interesting story dispersed with humor and their fun and their mishaps on the trip and a little bit of a history lesson into national parks and Glacier National Park itself. Part two of the book covers Nick's time filming devs in England, where he essentially lives with James Rebanks and his family. James Rebanks is another well-known author and a huge proprietor of sustainable rotational farming. Spent his life rebuilding a farm with the goal of taking the land back to how it was thousands of years ago, before they moved streams, before they did some of the walls. Everything is a hand-done culture, a slow-moving culture. The Rebanks work hard to make their living making this land work. They raise heritage breed sheep and have heritage cows and other things. Nick goes into what resonated with me is one of my things where a farm fresh egg right from the coop is the tastiest thing in the world. Doesn't compare to a store-bought egg. Doesn't matter if it's organic or cage-free or whatever. You get that egg fresh from the farm and it's nothing like it. Part three of the book is him and his wife, Megan Mullally, buying an Airstream and traveling around the United States, hopping between family and family in different states during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic. He talks about politics. He talks about things related to the pandemic. He talks about, and that's just a trigger warning, he is very leftist and very progressive. So he talks about the state of the way things were with the United States, and particularly the presidential administration during that time. But he also talks about his family. And he talks about his love for his family, some of the ones in Minnesota, some of the ones down in Texas. And if you ever want relationship goals, watch how he talks about his wife, Megan Mullally, and how she talks about them. They adore one another. They communicate. They love one another. Their relationship is just stellar. So you get a lot of that in the third part of that book. My recommendation is you pick it up on the audiobook because he reads the book himself. And you see his cadence, you hear his inflections, and his voice is just amazing. Plus there's little asides that aren't on the written page that he talks about on the audiobook. So if you have a chance, check out Where the Deer and the Antelope Play by Nick Offerman. And as always, do good and be good. Bowser out. Beans, 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 beans. Beans, 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 beans.